In this video, I'm going to show you how to amend a shirt card by adding in simple pocket details and also amending the collar shape. Now firstly, what we want to do is, I can see here that this is a card which has selected the whole shape round. So what I want to do is I want to use my shape builder tool to separate each of these cards sections up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my black arrow tool and I'm just going to select the whole shape here, highlighted. Then I'm going to go over and use my shape builder tool. I'm just going to hover over, and as you can see, each section is highlighting up, and I'm going to tap in each section which I want to create a new shape by. And then I'm going to use my black arrow tool just to amend this here. Now, what I want to do is I want to add in my rulers. So if you haven't already got them here, you can go to View, Rulers, Hide or Add in Rulers. Then I'm going to go to Layers, I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this Details and Trims. I'm going to click OK. Then, if you download on Blackboard, you can download this denim shirt example, and this is what we're going to be amending our card to look like. Now, you can click on the shape, and if you go to Object, Edit, Copy, if you go to Shirt, Copy, Edit, Paste. Now as you can see, this has now been pasted into our artwork. I'm going to use my Shift key and black arrow tool just to amend the size of this and drag it over just to align it up here. And then I'm just going to zoom in. Now I can see here that I want to be adding in all my simple stitch details and adding in a pocket and changing the shape of the shoulder panel here, and also amending the collar. Now what I'm going to first off start by doing is just drawing a centre front line using my ruler key. I'm going to hold down and drag right across and just create that centre front line here. I'm then going to add in a panel here just for underneath to create, because I know that I'm going to be creating a shirt. Now what you can do is you can actually just make this slightly bigger and just line up, and I can see here that this is roughly the shape that I'm going to be adding my pockets in here. So I'm just going to move up now this black arrow tool and the guidelines just to create the box for the pocket. Then I'm just going to zoom in. Now I'm going to start off by adding in the simple stitch details on one side at the bottom here by using my pen tool and just selecting a black fill, and also going to my stroke and ticking the dashed lines here. I'm going to make this 0.5. Then I'm going to start off by using the pen tool and just simply drawing the stitch details by following the outside of the shirt. Now instead of redrawing this again, I'm actually going to use my Alt key and hold down the black arrow and just duplicate this by dragging it up slightly here. Again, I'm going to do the same on my cuff, using the Alt key to end the anchor point, and then using the Alt key to drag up and copy this. Then I'm just going to the top of the cuff now, adding in the stitch detail, using the anchor point again to curve the shape of the shirt, and use the Alt key just to duplicate the stitch line. I'm just going to move that slightly up by using my keyboard arrows. Now I'm just going to add in my simple sleeve detail stitch using the pen tool again. We're doing one easy simple stroke. Again, using my Alt key and holding down and just duplicating a copy of this. Now I'm just going to simply add in the stitch detail on the side of my placket by using a pen tool and just creating one simple line. And now I can just see that my pen tool wasn't actually selected, so I'm just going to go to Colour, select Black, go to Stroke and tick Dashed, and then I'm just going to end the pen point. I'm going to use my white arrow tool just to realign that up slightly here. I'm going to zoom in. Then I'm just going to go back to here and I'm just going to make sure that this is 0.5. Then I'm going to use my white arrow tool and the Alt key and just duplicate this again, like that. And now I'm going to zoom out slightly. Now, because I've added in all the stitch detail here, I can see here that I need to amend my shoulder panel piece here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my white arrow tool, I'm going to select the shoulder panel piece here. And I'm going to select the anchor point here and I'm just going to drag this down to create a straight horizontal line. And then I'm going to use my pen tool, I'm going to join up the anchor point here, as you can see, and then I'm going to create a simple angle like this. I use my black arrow tool to end this. I'm now going to add in the stitch detail by using the pen tool and going to stroke and selecting dashed and then 5. Detail. Again, using my Alt key and holding down the black arrow, I'm just going to duplicate this here. Now I can see that I'm just going to slightly move this down by using the black arrow key just to make this a little bit closer on the keyboard. Now what I want to do is I want to amend the collar shape now to be this direct angle pointed here. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm actually just going to select now the collar shape here. I'm now going to select the anchor point here and I'm going to use my return key in the keyboard to delete this here. I'm now going to use my pen tool, I'm going to join up to that anchor point here. Again, as you can see, I'm just going to create a straight point and join up the 2 points here like that. Now as you can see now, I've amended the collar shape simply by amending the path. I'm now going to use my pen tool, click on the strokes, add in the dash, again changing this to 5, and now I'm just going to add in the 2 rows of stitch. Again, using my pen tool to create a new 2 anchor points here, and then use my white arrow tool just to realign and bring that a little bit closer in. Again, amending this slightly down, using my white arrow tool, like that. Now I'm just going to zoom out so you can see a bit clearer. Now what I want to do is I want to use my rectangle box here to create a simple rectangle shape over. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a rectangle box like this. Now it's in the dash line, I'm just going to click on this, go to stroke and just remove and change this to be 0.75. I'm going to use my white arrow tool, I'm going to delete the anchor point here. I'm just going to now redraw this in, and then I'm going to angle it, and you can see how the intersect point has gone right to the centre here, and then I've now rejoined that up, and now I've created this angled shaped pocket. Now what we want to do is we're going to again add a stitch detail here, so I'm going to use my pen tool, I'm just going to create the stitch rows like this. Then I'm going to use my eyedrop tool, and I'm actually going to just, by doing this tool, you can select any stroke point and it will copy it exactly like that. It's a really good tool to know, especially when you want to be quick doing CADs. Then I'm going to click on the dash line I've just done, I'm going to go to Edit, Copy, I'm going to go to Paste. Then I'm going to move this using the black arrow tool and just realign this up, and I'm just going to use my shift key to make this slightly smaller and add this in and then drag it down like that. Now, what I want to do is I want to create the pocket lid here, as we can see, but I know that this shape is kind of very similar to the shape that I need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the shape here, I'm going to go to Command and C and then Command and V, and this will copy this is a really good shortcut because it will copy anything that you want. I'm just going to again line this up here over the top. I'm going to use my black arrow tool to just drag this up and just slightly move this out and just create that pocket lid here. And I'm going to use my white arrow tool to select the anchor point and just angle this slightly a little bit more, like that. Now we have our pocket shape here. Again, we need to add the stitching detail. So now I'm just going to use Command and plus and just zoom in here. And then I'm going to use my pen tool and I'm going to draw now the stitch details. Because as I know it's a double stitch line here, I'm just going to remove the fill. I'm going to use the eyedrop tool again to select the dash detail. Then I'm going to draw in again the stitch, like that. Now I'm just going to zoom out, I'm just going to double check now the pocket, and I can see that now there's 2 rows of stitching over the top of the pocket lid. So I'm just going to go back to my pocket and add this in now. Using the pen tool again to just draw straight line. I'm going to use the white arrow tool and the Alt key to duplicate this. Now I'm just going to, because I'm a bit closer in now, I'm actually just going to amend the stitch detail here, just because I know that I can get this a lot closer to the edge. Again, use my white arrow tool to amend this. Now I'm just going to move that slightly out of the way here. Now I'm happy with all the stitch details on this side. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of the stitch details here on the left hand side. I'm going to reflect this over. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just click on my layers here and I'm just going to remove the shared background. Then I'm just going to check that I'm going to select now all of the details here. Then I'm just going to zoom in. I'm just going to use my black arrow tool. I'm just going to deselect the sections which I do not want to copy. As you can see, I'm only transferring over exactly the stitch details that I need, which is perfect. So now I'm going to click on the reflect box here. I'm going to use my Alt key. I'm going to select the middle of the line here, and as you can see, automatically this is now copied over for me. And I'm just going to preview it. I'm going to click copy. I'm going to click my black arrow key, and now I can see this is automatically copied over. Now I'm not too bothered at the moment that it's copied over a couple of other details because I can go back in and delete this. Now I'm actually going to zoom in at the top here, and now I'm just going to delete the object there. I'm going to delete that one and just some of the outline of the shapes that has been transferred over as well. Now I need to make sure that my collar point is now amended as the same as the other side. I'm just going to zoom in here. I'm just going to select the shape and I'm just going to delete the anchor point like this. Then I'm going to rejoin that up again by selecting the point, because I can see that my stitch lines is giving me a guidance here. Now I'm going to join that up like that. Then I'm just going to amend this collar shape slightly to be a little bit bigger, just due so that I can see here, just to make sure it's on the correct opposite side. Just making sure I select the point here. Just lining this up. Now I'm just going to zoom out. Now as we can see here, our shirt now is starting to take form. Now what I'm going to do is now I'm going to add in some of the simple details, and now I'm going to add in the buttons. I'm going to zoom in. I'm just going to add in now the shirt details just to the front here of the collar. I'm just going to use my pen tool and just draw around the details that I know that a shirt collar has when I zoom in closely. Again, just adding in the stitch details here. Now what we want to create is, we want to create the buttons to go down the centre front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now go to View, I'm going to go to Rulers and Hide Rulers. And then I'm going to select the guidelines and delete these from the CAD. Simply by clicking and using the return key on your keyboard to delete these. Just going to zoom in slightly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ellipse tool and I'm just going to create a simple circle at the side here. And then I'm going to use my gradient tool. Now if it's not already here at the side, if you go to Windows and Gradient, then I'm just going to tap on the image which is already here, and at the moment it's linear and I want this to be radial. And then I'm just going to slightly amend this just to be a little bit darker and a little bit more of a button shape, a metal button stopper. Then I'm going to select the shape here. I'm actually going to now drag this into my symbol boxes. Again, if your symbols isn't here, if you go to Windows and Symbols, it will appear. Then I'm just going to drag this into my symbols box. Oh, that can sometimes happen. I'm just going to delete the CAD there. Now I'm just going to drag this in. For some reason, it's not doing it for me. This can happen. I'm just going to check that I'm in at the correct layer and just go back to Symbols, and now I've added it in. I'm now just going to call this a denim button. And I want this to be a graphic and a dynamic symbol, and I'm just going to click OK. Now that is now added into this, and now I can select the button and just delete this. Then I'm going to zoom in here, I'm going to now drag back in, drag out the symbol, and you can drag this out as many times as you want and it will always be the same. Now I'm just going to select the symbol, I'm going to use my shift key, I'm going to make this smaller, and use my black arrow key just to line this up onto here, which now I think is the perfect size for this. I'm going to use my black arrow tool, and as I showed you before, I'm just going to drag down, I'm going to create about 6 or 7 buttons, again using the Denim CAD JPEG as a reference. Now I'm just going to use my Align tool and select each button here. I'm going to go to Windows, Align, and just make sure that these are all using the horizontal align center, that these all line up straight. I'm going to use my distribute object and make sure that each space is distributed perfect. Now I'm just going to go back to my denim share and just make sure that this is everything correct. Now I'm happy with all the details on here, and now I'm just going to add in the buttons to my pocket shapes here. I'm going to drag out the symbol again and just use this amend it by holding down the shift key and making this smaller. I'm just going to drag it over, and then I'm going to use my alt key to drag it over one more time onto the pocket here. Now this is how you can amend a CAD easily, by using all the different options and tools that I've showed you in the classes so far. Now part 2, we will add in and make our own stripe, plaid or repeat pattern.